And today's blog post is about Facebook advertising for photographers, and this is part 2 of the Facebook advertising blog series. And I'm going to cover up how to set up your campaign, how to do a little bit of research, and a little technique, what we call split advertise testing. So the first thing I want to describe is that just some basic fundamentals. With Facebook advertising, there's basically what they call a campaign, and a campaign is around your goal. So it could be a goal of, let's say, a special or a coupon offer, an event. If in last week I did one I was running a webinar. So what you want to do is name your campaign after what that goal is. And then what you can do is you don't have to just run one ad. You can actually do a variation of an ad just by changing some things out. For example, we could change out demographics, whether we wanted to target just, all men and women or maybe just women. We could target different interests. We could target different behaviors. So many variables. But what I want you to do is think about, if you've never done this, to really start simple. So in this example, I'm going to show you how you can set up a very simple campaign and actually do a split test doing 3 different ads. And under an ad set, although you can have multiple, I'm recommending you only use one. And the reason for that is that in the beginning, you want to see which ones are working. And if you don't have a very succinct targeting and you have too many variables in there, you can't really see if your money is being spent properly or getting the right return on investment. So in this case, and I'm going to show you some examples of how we can actually dive in and get some very specific ways that we can target. My first ad in this campaign, which is going to be a campaign running a special for Labor Day, we're going to target the United States. We're actually going to go right down into the city where this particular photographer lives. We're going to have that in there. And then we're going to target men and women. And we're going to go for a pretty broad range. They live in a vacation type resorty area, so might be good for people that are visiting, etc. Typically when I do it, I tend to stay more targeted based on gender. But in this case, because it's local, I'm going to go a little bit higher. And I'm going to do some local targeting. I'm going to target places that I know people who have liked certain photographers also like restaurants or bars or cafes or hairstylists, whatever. I'm going to then change the ad up a little bit. I'm going to keep all the demographics the same, but I'm going to now target into interests, things that Facebook keeps track of in terms of what people who like various photographers and what their interest level is. And then finally, I'm going to do another one where I'm going to specifically zone in on the competitors. So before we get started, and I'm actually going to step you through this, I want to cover a couple of things. Once you get in and you set your ad up, the top, you'll see that little line just above interest. Anything above that is what, from a Boolean standpoint, is like an and. So each section in the top is an and. And so the target profile has to meet that criteria. So target profile has to meet that they're in the United States, that in our case it's going to be that they live in a certain location, that they're a certain age group, and what their gender is. That's the and. Now, in order to go below the next line where you see the interest and behavior section, that's an or. And so what I mean by that is when you add more of these, you'll get a larger audience. But for an example, if we were to say sports or basketball, that could mean anyone who had either sports or basketball in their profile. And so you want to think of the top is always and. It's the criteria that you have to meet, and the other is more of an or. So what I'm going to do in the beginning is we're going to get real specific on the top. And I would suggest if you're new with advertising, you start here. And then the other thing I want to make sure that everybody understands is that in order to use the interest and behavior section on your ad, you actually have to fill out one portion of the ad when you set it up and actually have it be known that it's your Facebook page that is going to be somehow highlighted in the ad. So this is really important stuff, and let's go on over and let me actually dive in and show you examples of what we can do here. So before I do that, the first thing I did and I'm picking on some good friends of mine, Michelle Brown, Tim and Michelle Brown Photography. They're located in St. Simon's Island in Georgia. And so what I did was I went to Google and I just looked up St. Simon's Island, Georgia photographers. And you can see there's a whole slew of them. And the people at the top have done a really good job because they all have Google Plus pages and they've set it up so it's local. And I'm really proud of you, Michelle and Tim. You did a great job. You're number one. Maybe some of those blog posts I've done have helped out. But what I did was I started to just look through all of these just by clicking on it, looking at their website, seeing if they have a Facebook page. And guess what? I'm going to show you what you can do. So this happens to be one of the other photographers in the area, Mike Force Photography. And there's a number of ways that you can search this. But one of the most powerful, this is called Facebook Graph Search, is that you can type in certain information. And so I did cities liked by people who like Mike Force Photography. That's his business page. So all the cities come up. But why did you do that, Georgia? Because down here, you can actually go in and say, I want to see the places that they visited. Okay? I want to see what kind of place type that they're associated with. So if I want to see a restaurant, or I want to see a bar, or a cafe, hairstylists, schools, whatever, they will appear. I mean, really, really powerful stuff. You can do a bunch of other things. I could have gone in and just said, you know what, I want to see favorite interests of fans of this particular. And you can see that Facebook has kept track that, you know what, people who like this guy's Facebook page, they like flip-flops, they like the beach, camping, mudding, four-wheeling. And so when you do your ad, you can actually use these as different ways to target people. And again, it's going to target only those people in that certain geographic area, those and sections. Really, really powerful stuff. I've done a number of blog posts on this. Maybe I'll do a refresher here coming up of all the various things that you can do. But it's really amazing the kind of detail that you can actually get into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over now to Facebook. And the one thing I want to remind everybody of is that when you're setting a campaign or your first ad or any ad, you always want to make sure you sign in as your personal profile. You're going to go right down here to Ads Manager. And I set this one up ahead of time so I could save some time. And so here's a scheduled ad that I set up. And we're going to go in. We're going to take a look at it. And this is only one ad. I've only done the first ad in the ad set. I haven't done the second or the third yet. So let's come down and take a look at what I did. So I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to call it. Book now for a portrait session and receive 20% off a session fee and a free 8x10. And I have this set up as a click to a web conversion. And I'm giving 20% off. And then down here, I've picked my targeted audience, like I showed you, the ANDs, United States, and St. Simon's Island, Georgia, and they speak U.S. English, and they're 30 to 60 years old. But I used that technique I just showed you because I happen to know that a lot of fans of those other photographers, they like Southern Soul Barbecue, or they love PrincessHairShop.com. And I could keep adding more and more of these if I wanted to. And the more ors you add, the higher that audience level. So in this case, it's very targeted to 2,200 people. I set the bidding up, and you can edit this at any point in time. And I highly recommend that what you do is use what they call the bidding technique, optimize for clicks. Facebook knows how to do this. I let them automatically do that. I don't mess around with it. And I'm going to stick with one photo. If I was doing this for a real ad, I would probably do it a little bit different, and I'll show you some examples of how you can do that. And here you can see Connect Facebook page. So this is where you have to select the page, and then once you do that, it's going to allow you in the targeting to go into much more specific search interests, behaviors, etc. So that's basically how I've got that set up. Let's go back to my PowerPoint presentation real quick. and continue on, teach you a little bit more. So that's how I set it up. You can actually view this. At any point in time, if I wanted to create yet another ad, so let's say ad set number 2, you can actually go in when you pull this ad up and you'll see down here, do you want to create a similar ad? And you can, and as long as you tie that directly back to that same, in my case, it was a website conversion, you're fine. It'll add to the ad set. Otherwise, if you're going to change it to a page like or something like that, you have to start from scratch again. So there are some fancier tricks that you can do. I ran a webinar last Wednesday, and what I did was, instead of sticking with certain demographics, I ended up going in and changing things around relative to the photos. And you can do this. You can change, I could do an ad set where I keep all of my targeting the same demographics, the same interests, the same behaviors, but I want to check out, does a photo resonate better? Or I could have done the same thing, and instead of changing up the photo, I could just change the copy. So again, let's just go back. Come back up here again and show you what I mean. So this ad set, the first one, in the case of Tim and Michelle, I targeted local targeting for the restaurants, the hairstylists. I could have done a little bit more. The second one, I would have used the exact same demographics, but I would have taken those interests, flip-flops, camping, mudding. You can even go in, if you want to, in that same area. Let's say there's a local newspaper, you could. It's just unbelievable, the amount. But I'd say in the beginning, keep it kind of simple. And then the third ad set, I can actually go in, and in that interest section, I can actually, down here where it says interest, I could actually enter in some of the competitors' web pages or Facebook pages. And so I could target specifically all of the fans of all those different photographers in the area just by entering in those Facebook fan page names. So this is some of the basics. One of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to always check your reports and adjust accordingly. That's what's beautiful about Facebook. You can go in, you can turn them on, you can turn them off. In my next blog post, I'll make sure that we cover that. But this is one that I ran last week. I spent, I think, $20 a day for 2 days, and I set it up so that people would actually join our webinar. And I was really, really happy. I had 8 clicks. I had 68 unique clicks, people that actually signed up as a result of the ad. But more important, my click-through rate was 3.6%. That is awesome. And my total spend, I actually didn't spend my whole $40. I spent $34. So I was really excited about that. But again, at any point in time, you can go in and you can change by editing the budget. You can go in and you can change that. Let's say you don't want all 3 ads running, because sometimes Facebook does go in and say, oh, I'm going to spend more, I'm going to show more of this ad than the other. But don't worry if it's not working. What you have to think about, is your offer enticing? Are you giving something away for free, or is it really a sale? More importantly, what does your landing page look like? And second of all, you want to check your copy. So let's just jump over there again, and I want to show you what I mean by this. Okay, so let's go in here. And I'm going to go back, and I'm going to show you some ads that I just did. So go back to my campaigns, and this is the actual one that I did last week. And hopefully I can find it here. I've done quite a few lately. There it is, publishing it. See, there it is. Okay, so I ran this one last week, and I decided to get a little tricky, which probably I shouldn't have done. And so I actually did 3 different ads. And what I did was, I did one that was not so hot, and you can see I changed up the picture. And I really, right off the chute, it was not getting, even though my click-through rate was great, I had a 4.2% click-through, I had 10 clicks, I just wasn't happy. I only had a reach of 230. So what I did was I actually just went here and I clicked this and I turned the ad off, made it inactive. Now, let's go back and I'll show you one that did kind of work. So I set these all up, but then this one tended to get much, much more success. Actually, this was the most successful ad. So during that, 2-day time frame, I basically watched this and said, you know what? Those other ones where I got fancy with different pictures, because I kept the targeting pretty much the same, and the only thing I did was change up the picture. I kept the copy the same. This is the one that was really working. And you can see I actually had here, sign up. And when people clicked on that, they went directly to the sign up page. And we had a great webinar. We had over 100 people sign up. And we had really good people. I think we had well over 50 who attended, which is really good actually for webinars. So that's something that I don't want you to try right away. It gets a little bit more sophisticated. And so when you get a little bit more experience, knock yourself out on that. So don't worry if it's not working, but I really do want you to think about your landing page and what that looks like. So if you're going to run an ad and the objective is to get people to, let's say, sign up for this 20% off, you want to make sure that you have a dynamite looking landing page that's going to highlight, 20% off, kind of what the special's all about. You can do this even on a blog post. In fact, let me just go back and I'll show you one more thing. In the case of Tim and Michelle, they actually did that. I think it's here. Let's go back one. They actually ran a blog post yeah, here we go. They had Senior Fall Special, and what they did was they said, go ahead, click here, and sign up now. And now, here you could have the option where they're basically following up with the people, but you could actually have something, get your coupon code, pick a date. You can get as fancy as possible, as much as you want to. And you can actually do that right within your Facebook or within your blog post. Another thing that you can do that I've done, and I'm going to show you this with H&H, is we actually did we had great success with our summer soiree. And what we did, let me just get out of there. I'll come back up here and I'm going to search on H&H. We just changed this. But we actually use an application called Short Stack. And right within Facebook, you can actually create like a mini site almost. So here it is. So here was the summer soiree. And on our ad, what we did was we had this application right within Facebook, so we could tell people all about the event, tell them about the guests and prizes. But we said, here, RSVP now. And so they add their name, their studio name, their email, they submitted it. We actually tracked the effectiveness of the ad tied to the number of people who actually RSVP'd for the attending the summer soiree. Very, very powerful. So bottom line, Facebook advertising can be really, really effective. You can be very basic in terms of just starting out really simple, get fancier as time goes on. If you get a good click rate on the newsfeed, I highly encourage everybody to set it up as a newsfeed ad. I tend not to use those right side ads at all because they eat the money up really fast. So if you can get a click-through rate of 1%, that's good. 2% is better. Above that, so that's why I was so excited about mine that had over 3%. And in terms of the prices, you can also dive into the reporting. And I like to go through everything, but I don't have enough. I'm going to be too long as it is. So the next one that I do on Facebook advertising, we'll really dive into this pricing and how you can look at the reports and track. But these are good cost per like, cost per click, cost per opt-in, cost per sale. So finally, remember these. Don't change too many things in your ad. Use the same budget for the campaign. So you're going to set up a campaign. Your budget's going to be, let's say, $20 a day, and you can specify the days. I want you to make sure you do that. Select it where it's going to run from this time to this time. Don't leave it open-ended because some people forget about that. And you know what? Just start out with $20. Start out with 10. Heck, you can even start out with 5. But I found that 20 works the best. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me, Georgia McCabe at georgiamccabe.com or Georgia at georgiamccabe.com. But also on the H&H Facebook page. Go ahead, leave a comment, ask a question. I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for joining.